Lacock, based in Wiltshire, England, is famous for its medieval British feel and frequent use as a filming location for Harry Potter, Downton Abbey, and Pride and Prejudice. But here's the twist. Its beauty is the least impressive part of Lacock, as the most impressive part is who can live there and the strict rules that they must follow. Lacock began as a small knot of houses beside a little stream. The name itself comes from the Anglo-Saxon term Lacock, meaning little stream. That stream refers to the Bide Brook, which is the spine of the village and where people first settled. Lacock didn't appear by accident. This village grew up in the Saxon and medieval world as a planned market village built to serve a much larger institution, the Lacock Abbey, founded in 1232. The abbey was the engine of the village and required food, goods, and labor to support the day-to-day upkeep, which were supplied by the village, who were compensated but often not just in cash but in food, housing, and other payments. The village ran like a small, well-oiled system. Water from the Bide Brook powered mills that did the heavy work, grinding grain, fulling wool, and helping prepare hides for tanning. Good medieval roads to the south linked Lacock into regional trade, while market rights along the high street kept goods and people moving. Over generations, the place evolved into a compact, functioning economy. Mills, markets, craftsmen, and farms all depended on one another. Locals didn't preserve Lacock because they loved the idea of heritage. They protected it because it was their livelihood. Communal rights, manorial stewardship, and monastic oversight kept Lacock stable. Centuries later, that stability would look like preservation, but it began as practical management, not nostalgia. So Lacock was built to serve an abbey and a market. That explains the layout. But what happens when a single family and then a national charity take control of that layout? That's where the story gets interesting. Fast forward to the 20th century. The cost of looking after an entire medieval village and its abbey were growing. Enter Matilda Talbot and a decision that would change everything. In 1944, Matilda Talbot donated the Lacock Abbey, the village, and the Lacock estate to the National Trust. The goal was simple but urgent. Lacock needed to secure long-term preservation, public access, and professional care for the buildings and archives. The trust didn't rip up the village and rebuild it as a museum. They kept tenancy arrangements in place. They avoided sudden changes that would displace residents or damage the historic fabric. Wartime scarcity meant major restoration had to wait, so life in Lacock continued, but now under a new landlord with a conservation mission. That transfer turned Lacock into an estate village under trust ownership. Houses remained lived in, but the ownership pattern shifted from private freeholds to trust-managed tenancies and leases. Over time, that ownership model would be the single most important reason why houses rarely change hands. This said, ownership alone didn't make Lacock famous. Something else did, and that something would turn a quiet village into a global tourist magnet. Imagine a place that looks exactly like a period film set. Now imagine millions of people seeing it on screen. That's Lacock? The National Trust maintained that medieval feeling with timber cottages and historic shop fronts which were largely unchanged. Lacock became a living time capsule. Add the Fox Talbot Museum, the birthplace of photography, and you have a village that's both historically important and visually perfect. Film and TV producers started to notice this, and as a result, Lacock started appearing in films. Lacock's cloisters and streets have appeared in Harry Potter, Pride and Prejudice, Downton Abbey, and countless period dramas. Each production brought a new wave of visitors, so the Trust added visitor signage, guided tours, and museum facilities. To this day, visitors will walk through Lacock and spot parts of the village that appeared within these big-name TV programs. That fame created a split feeling among residents. Many are proud. They see themselves as custodians of a rare place. Others are frustrated due to the day trip crowds, coach parties, and the wear and tear on narrow streets make everyday life harder. Empty trust-owned houses, holiday lets, and the economics of tourism have strained the social fabric. So Lacock is beautiful, protected, and famous. But beauty and fame doesn't explain why you almost never see a house for sale. For that, we need to look at the legal and practical mechanics of ownership here. Lacock isn't closed by law, it's closed by ownership and practice. The National Trust owns most of the houses, with many buildings that are there being listed and having long-standing tenants. The result of this is that almost no freeholds ever hit the market. Historically, Lacock functioned as an estate village. The manor, later the Talbot family, and now the National Trust owned the houses and let them to tenants. That pattern continued to be present even after 1944, when the exchange took place. With Grade 1 and Grade 2 listed buildings, strict planning controls, and conservation area protections, you have a place where altering a building or selling it is legally and practically complicated. You have to remember, listed buildings aren't treated like normal. These are buildings that have special architectural or historic interest, that have legal protection to prevent demolition, extension, and significant alterations. There is no law banning private purchase, but in practice, most of the homes are trust-owned and let on tenancy agreements. When a building has a listed status, it means that it requires specialist work and permissions, which can be very expensive and slow. Even basic changes to these buildings can take months to obtain planning permission, and in some instances, it could be a straight no. Tourism pressure is another consideration that makes owners cautious about selling to buyers who might convert homes into holiday lets. However, estate stewardship means the trust prioritizes conservation and community continuity over creating a free market. If you want to live in Lacock, your options are limited but real. Option 1. You could buy a rare freehold home when one appears. Monitor all the property apps or use some form of buying agent. However, expect very high prices. Listed building cost, as do specialist surveys. Option 2. Secure a national trust tenancy. Contact the Lacock estate team, register your interest, and be ready for referencing and deposits. This option offers stability but no ownership. Option 3. Buy nearby and commute. There's more supply in bigger areas, lower prices, but you lose the village in a time capsule experience. The final option is to be in the know. Local networks within Lacock and just outside matter. Long-term residents and estate staff often hear about opportunities first. If you like this video, then maybe one day we will have enough clout to become in the know and have easy access to Lacock for all of our GlobeMode viewers.